Today, we become legends.
Alright, so just bringing you guys a quick update on the 10.2 bonus update notes that are going to be going live today. There's a few changes to the game that will be quite impactful, I think. Also, 2 new skins here as well. So yeah, let's just jump right into it. So first up, we have a nerf to heroism, which kind of makes sense. I think this item was really strong. You know, it was always a strong passive on Hero's Axe, and it just became a lot more buildable when they made it into a support item, because obviously it's more of like a supportive thing. You know, you want to be in the back line kind of thing. I don't really understand why it was ever on Warrior's Axe in the first place. And it's become, you know, really powerful in that, and they've basically increased the cooldown on it from 8 seconds to 15 seconds, which is massive. You know, that's almost a 100% increase in the cooldown of the item, which is going to be really impactful in teamfights. Also, it no longer stacks with itself, which is relevant, but not that relevant. It would only stack with itself occasionally, really, but it doesn't stack with other shields either, and it will overwrite smaller shields, which is usually how shields work in Smite anyway. So you can't, like, you know, get this to activate and then pop Shell, and then maybe they have some other kind of shield from, like, Kepri or Yamoja or whatever. Like, this was really crazy on Yamoja, because obviously she goes Compassion instead of Sentinels anyway, because she doesn't need the mana from Sentinels. So you would just go this on Yamoja, and you would have, like, your 2 shields, you would have Shell, probably, you would have this activating, and you would just see backliners with, like, 600 health and shields, and it was kind of getting a little ridiculous. So understandable that this has been nerfed. Big nerf to it though, to be honest. This is going to be pretty huge. Also, in the 10.3 main update, we should be seeing notes for that, I believe, next week. I want to say it could be this week, but I think it's next week. That's going to be getting gold per 5 seconds in the 10.3 main update, just to kind of make it on the same level as all the other support starters, where they gain gold per 5 if you're the lowest gold on the team. Some magical ADC nerfs here. So we have the Telkine's Ring, definitely deserving of a nerf. I think this is a lot of the reason why magical ADCs have been so strong. It's just really efficient since they added lifesteal to this. Decrease the attack speed to 15%, so definitely not too much attack speed on this item anymore. Also decrease the basic attack bonus damage from 10 plus 3 per level to 10 plus 2 per level. So it's going to be pretty similar in the early game, but to be honest, you were only really buying this item when you had a few levels anyway, so this will be pretty impactful. You know, the base damage on this was just kind of insane when you rush it early game, because it's flat damage now instead of scaling with your magical power. So basically, assuming you get this around like level 10 or something, that's going to be 10 less damage on each proc, which is going to be pretty impactful. To be honest, I think the items are good for magical ADCs, but also just the magical ADCs in general are really good, and maybe they could have had some god nerfs. Like, I think Soul Passive needs some nerfs, to be honest. Also, Cyclopean Ring, you know, all the people that were calling me a noob for saying this item was going to be good, saying it's just a massively worse magical kin size. Now, this item ended up being really good. They're taking 10 power off it and 1% of the max health damage off of it, so it's not going to kill the item by any means. It's still going to be very useful on those magical ADCs, but yeah. These 2 nerfs, they aren't enormous. You're not going to see magical ADCs fly out of the meta or anything, but nerfing their items down does make a lot of sense. A lot of the Hunter items are actually really strong right now. I think Hunter builds are very good, and I think people are underestimating how good Hunter builds are just because everyone's seeing these magical ADCs do better. But I think, you know, with these nerfs, we're going to be seeing a lot more Hunters, and depending on if they do more nerfs, which they might do, I think Hunters could really come back into the meta with force, because there's some strong Hunters right now, for sure, and their builds are really good, considering how much crit you can get and still go kins and stuff. Asi also really good, you know. With this Telkine's nerf, Asi might outbox Telkine's Ring in the laning phase now, which is really kind of what you're looking at if you're going a physical Hunter into a magical ADC. I mean, if it's Sol, you just don't box her in the early game anyway, it's impossible, but, you know, maybe against Freya and Kronos, they're going to have a bit of a harder time boxing Asi Hunters, because these items are kind of similar. You know, they both have lifesteal, they both have attack speed, but Asi has, like, a lot more lifesteal and stuff. I think Asi could potentially be out-trading this now in a lot of matchups. Moving on to some assassin nerfs though, you know, we're mainly targeting at like magical ADCs and assassin nerfs plus this heroism nerf here. Assassins are getting their penetration class bonus like shifted. It's going to be the same amount at level 20, but it's going to be much less in the early game, which I think is a great change. 5 pen at level 1 is just insane. I don't think people really realize how powerful penetration is. You know, even 5 pen in the early game is massively increasing your damage. Let me get the numbers, actually. I'm interested in this. Yeah, so at level 1, Scylla has 16 magical prots. So with 5 pen, you're removing almost a third of her prots. Let's get this. Yeah, so just at level 1, you're going from dealing 88% of your initial damage to 93%. So you're getting like a 5% damage boost just for playing an assassin in the early game. And it probably will be even more as you scaled up, though physical protections do scale up quite a lot, so I'm not actually sure on that, and the math gets a little bit annoying to work out. But yeah, penetration in the early game is very valuable, basically, is what I've been saying. You know, there's a reason why every assassin builds a mace first, or almost every assassin builds a mace first. You know, maybe Thanatos doesn't. And a lot of mages, you know, after they've stacked, they'll rush flat pen or something. something. There's a reason for that. It's because flat penetration in the early game is very powerful. So nerfing this down is going to be pretty huge, you know, going from 5 to 2. And yeah, as I said, going to be the same at level 20, which is fine because once you're at level 20, how much flat pen even is this? Yeah, like 10 pen at level 20 is absolutely not going to matter. I mean, it will matter against squishies, but squishies in the late game have like 50 or 60 procs just base. And then you also have probably some support auras that are going on them a lot of the time, or some other kind of protection buff. So 10 flat pen in the late game isn't really that big of a deal. But in the early game, this is going to be pretty huge. Assassins are going to be hitting just a little bit less hard in the early game. Also, Jotun's Wrath gets a 5 power decrease to all of them. Completely pointless change in my opinion. I mean, yeah, Jotun's Wrath is very good. And the reason a lot of people are building Jotuns right now is because Crusher's no longer available as that flat pen option. So if you don't need Brawlers, you just go Jotuns. It's your only other option for flat pen because Shadow Drinker sucks ass. So basically, you have to build Jotuns on basically any ability-based jungler unless you want Brawlers, basically. So that's the reason Jotuns is being built so much. I don't think it's necessarily because it's super OP. It is really good, and it has a good glyph and all that stuff, but yeah, 5 power off of it's not going to make any difference. If you were already wanting to build Jotuns because you have no other option other than Brawlers, if the enemy team has no healer, you're still going to build Jotuns. This change means absolutely nothing. Book of Thoth nerf also makes sense, you know, ever since they added the 10 flat pen to this item. Again, flat pen, very good in the early game, you know, even by the time you get Thoth fully stacked, it's still really good to have that 10 flat pen. So it makes sense to giving this a nerf. Decrease the base magical power and also the bonus power from items, the mana from 7% to 6%. And then basically the same change on the evolved one, from 10% down to 8% and 10 power off of it as well. So yeah, basically mages are just going to be hitting a little bit less hard. It absolutely makes sense to nerf Book of Thoth. It's been the go-to for basically however long it's been, whenever that change was made. Basically, no one's been building anything but Book of Thoth since then. And yeah, assuming you have about like 2,000 mana from items or something, that might be a slight overestimate, to be honest, but 2,000 in the late game I think is kind of reasonable to get to. You know, 2% of that is going to be a 40 power decrease, plus 10 power off of the base item, so Mage is definitely going to be getting a pretty big hit to their power with this Book of Thoth nerf. Will it be enough to completely take it out of the meta? I don't think so, because that flat pen is still going to be like really much more valuable than the Warlock Staff percent pen. In the early game, which is obviously when you go these stacking items. So I think Book of Thoth will still be the go-to stacking item. But I don't know, maybe we'll see some like flat pen rush creep in, because Divine Ruin is really, really insane right now. You know, its stats are super good, the passive is broken as all hell. So maybe if you need Divine in the early game, like maybe against a Ra or something, you go Divine and just skip the Book of Thoth. But also Tablet is still going to be good, I think, and if you are building Tablet, you're going to want Book of Thoth in the build. So I think this will probably still be the go-to meta build, but there's a little bit more potential for if you want to like exploit your early game a little bit more, you could maybe go for a flat pen rush with Divine Ruin. But yeah, we've also got Tablet of Destiny's nerf, decrease the bonus true damage from 0.14% to 0.12%, so it's still way above what it was at its initial launch. I think it was 0.08, so it's still substantially above that. It's still going to be a really good item. But yeah, taking the damage down a little bit. You know, we've all been seeing those Agnis or the Merlins, even the Thoths doing just, you know, 600 to 800 true damage to you in the T screen or the Y screen, whichever one it is, and you're just very sad about it. So definitely a deserved nerf. Probably could have gone down to 0.10%, to be completely honest with you. Yeah, this item completely nuts, makes tanks very sad. So I'm glad to see it nerfed as a tank main. Will it still be good? Absolutely. Will it be an auto build on everyone? No. To be honest, in my opinion, right now, it's not an auto build on everyone. I think people are overbuilding this item at the moment. You know, I see it on like Scylla. I don't think it's good on Scylla. I think Scylla is any of those mages where you kind of just play for that one burst and then you're done. You know, Scylla just 1 poly auto, 2, they're dead basically, or you're running away at that point, or like 1 into ult or something like that. You don't get that much value from Tablet of Destinies, but on those like long range poke mages with a lot of abilities on low cooldowns, like Merlin, like Thoth, like Agni, those kind of gods, this is still going to be really insane on them. But it's even less, you want to build this even less on gods like Scylla that just go for that like 1 big burst combo with like 2 abilities. You're just much better with Soul Reaver and Polynomicon on stuff like Scylla. Gladiator Shield nerf. Probably justified, I guess. I don't think Glad Shield was that strong overall, but yeah, decreasing the bonus damage scaling from 35% to 30% of your protections from items and abilities. I guess it makes sense to nerf it down a little bit considering how many gods have access to this now. You know, a lot of supports are building it sometimes if they want a bit more damage in their build. You know, if you just want to carry random ranked and casuals, just build this in your support builds, to be honest. And also solo laners obviously are still building it like they always would. Sundering Axe, decrease percent health, current damage, and healing from protection scaling 2% to 1% of your protections from items. This should have been in the original patch where they nerfed Sundering Axe, in my opinion. The base damage that it was doing was not a problem. It was the protection scaling that was a problem. So yeah, this is huge though. Most of the damage of this item comes from the protection scaling. So yeah, they're basically cutting the damage of the item in half almost. Like, it does still have base damage, but the base damage is pretty much irrelevant compared to the amount you get from protections from items. So this should have been in the original patch. Glad to see it hit, to be honest. You know, even as someone who mains tanks, Sundering Axe was too strong, and this is definitely gonna take it down a peg for the most part. Is the item dead? Maybe. Honestly, maybe, because Warrior's Axe in the laning phase feels really bad to use. The only reason you built Warrior's Axe is because you wanted Sundering Axe in the late game, or maybe you wanted Animosity Axe on like a certain few picks, but yeah. With this thing being dead, you don't really want to build Warrior's Axe in the laning phase anyway, because it just gets massively out-traded by something like Bluestone or even Sigil. And so, yeah, I think Warrior's Axe might be dead here, dude. Tower Shield tier 2 gets 50 more Fizz Prots? I guess that's just to make it in line with more tier 2s. That seems kind of good, though. You know, if you're rushing into Glad Shield, maybe you're back and you don't have enough full Glad Shield, you just buy this. That's a lot of physical protections. I don't really know why this was changed, but, you know, I'm down for it. And moving into God changes, we have a Mercury nerf, completely makes sense. You know, everyone's spamming Mercury right now in ranked. Decrease the passive physical power bonus per unit traveled by like basically a third, 0.06 to 0.04, so decrease the maximum from 30% to 20%, so a pretty big nerf there. And also increase cooldown on Mage look from 8 seconds to 9 seconds. This is pretty important considering it's his main jungle clear and also his main poke ability. You know, Mercury can't poke without this, so makes sense. Probably justified amount of nerfs here, I would say. I don't think he needs too much more than this. He'll probably still be really good, because he's very good at farming the jungle right now, and has very good use of the items. But yeah, Mercury definitely needed a nerf. I think there are other junglers that probably should have been nerfed as well. It doesn't seem like they're nerfing any other junglers. But yeah, nice to see Mercury nerfed, I guess. Maybe we'll get more, like, proper like changes for the jungle and some top junglers in the 10.3 patch potentially. Maybe they're just trying to look at some of the really high performers at the moment. Surtur Ember Walk, decrease max stacks and movement speed both from 4 to 3, so that's 30% to 25% at the max movement speed, and also decrease the slow. So it's going to be easier to escape Surtur now once he gets on you and gets you in the range of that 3. To be honest, I don't really know if this was the problem. I guess maybe it's frustrating as a backliner if you burn your dash and Surtur gets on you, but I think that's kind of how Surtur works. You know, he doesn't have a way to easily get on you because his ult you can easily dash away from, so he has to, like, I guess, blink on you and burn your dash and then chase with this. It's like, I don't know, I kind of liked that this was how Surtur worked. I don't think this is really what needs to be hit on him. I think his laning phase needs to be hit, if anything. You know, the damage on this ability probably needs to be hit down slightly or make it deal less to minions or something like that. But I guess Surtur does need nerfs, so I guess I'm happy with this. And just a fix for Heim saying that it's dealing a normal amount of base damage. Apparently it was a reverted buff. So I guess technically a buff for Heim, but that's really how it should have been the whole time. Yeah, so that's the entire patch, boys. Just a little quick update for you there. Not too many changes, but some really impactful changes. Book of Thoth, really huge. Tablet of Destiny's not that huge, but people are overbuilding it anyway, and I think this nerf will make people realize that they were overbuilding it and probably build it less. Sundering Axe nerf, absolutely huge. The item's probably dead. What else was there? Jotun's nerf, entirely irrelevant. Assassin flat pen nerf, very relevant though. Definitely going to be seeing junglers deal a lot less. And some magical ADC nerfs as well. You're probably seeing a little bit less of Chronos, Freya, Salt. A little bit of Oleron though. We've not been seeing that much Oleron, to be honest. And then, yeah, a little bit less insane shields from the heroism for backliners. And yeah, we're going to have the launch of the main 10.3 update pretty soon, I think next week, which is going to be the launch of the Season of Hope. Should be pretty cool. Probably not going to be Ishel in the launch patch, I wouldn't think, because then they'd have 3 gods in a row, and that would be pretty insane. Probably like Ishel will come in like 10.4 or maybe even 10.5, we'll have to see. But yeah, launch of a new season, should be some pretty cool stuff coming there, and probably some more major balance changes to like fix a lot of the issues that are going on in the game right now. Although, in my opinion, I think the meta is pretty good at the moment. But yeah, let me know your guys' thoughts on the changes down below. Just a quick update for you, and I will catch you guys in another one later on. Have a great day, and peace out, you nerds.